Okay, guys, I decided to do a little work to these TFS High ports. I didn't go crazy on them. I didn't touch the chamber except where I milled out the cracks. I did leak check them. I filled the water jackets up. I don't have any water leaking out of them anywhere. So, unfortunately, my Magnafluxer decided to burn the transformer coil inside of it. So, I can't crack test any further until I get that fixed or buy a new one. It's a G for a new one. It's insane. All it is some wire wound around a magnetic core. Alright, you can see I straightened them out a little bit. It looks really dark on my phone, but I'm hoping you guys will be able to see it better than I can see it in the garage. I didn't do any work to the guides because those are going to get redone, and I'm going to put a couple seats in. The exhaust got quite a bit of work because every exhaust port had a different shape. Not sure why, but that's not how I'm going to do it. So I got a lot of the lumps and bumps out of them. I had to put some oil on them because I did CC them for you guys. Okay, as of right now, we've got a 1.32 exhaust throat, a 177 intake throat. Let's do the percentages on those. All right, tough to find a pen that actually writes in here. All right, the exhaust is an 82.5% throat, and the intake is an 87.6% throat. As of it sits right now, it's a 212.5 cc intake port, 84.5 exhaust, and the chambers are 64.5, which they don't look that big to me, but I think they're extra deep versus like an E7 chamber or GT40 chamber, probably because they're racing, designed to be racing heads. I mean, if you can see, you've got 70 thousandths of deck before you hit the seat. So these could definitely use some serious milling with that, and I think they're designed for that, which would make sense. Okay. All right. As received, 2.02 no back cut, 1.6 no back cut. This is what they flowed right out of the boxes that I got for them. Not terrible on the intake. Now it doesn't have a back cut, but you got to remember it's also a big port. So 195 at 300 is not bad, really. Especially with no back cut. And yeah, racing valve lifts, you got almost 300, which isn't bad considering the port is not that big. Remember, this was before I did it. I didn't CC it, but I definitely added some CCs when I did my first cut. Now take a look at the exhaust. The exhaust is a big port, and if you take a look at it, I think I got more out of the GT40P ports. And putting a pipe on doesn't really help because my 1.78 inch pipe is not big enough. So it really doesn't add that much flow to it. But these are going to need probably a 2.1, a 2 and a quarter, 2 and an eighth probably, 2 and an eighth size exhaust pipe on these monsters. Which really isn't a problem for a big small block Ford. Okay, this row. Same valve. All I did is I cleaned up the lumps and bumps and mess inside the ports. I took some air speeds. These are my first air speeds, right? These are my first air speeds. And from there I did a little work to them while I was cleaning them up. So I changed a couple profiles. As you can see by the pluses and minuses, the pluses all the way down. So at like 700, you're running a 308.8 CFM on a 212 cc port that hasn't had any work done in the chamber. The chambers are nice, though. I'm not going to goof them up that much, but if you take a look, it's, the valve job is not great. I mean, they're nice. They're multiple seat angles. I think there's 5 angles on them. but they're definitely going to get opened up to about a 208. And depending upon what we got to do with the exhaust seats, all of the exhaust seats on this head look relatively the same. They look original. Looks like they had more problem on the intakes because they changed out. They changed out 3 of them on this head. This one I think is original. I don't even know if it's a seat. It may be cast. It's tough to see. So in any case, I may be able to get away with just 1 seat on this. We'll see. We'll see. Okay, back to where we were. All right, nice pickup, pretty much all the way across. Not bad for a cleanup on the intake port, right? Take a look at the exhaust. Plus minuses, all pluses. Now, 180, 186 with a pipe, not great. Considering how big these are, they are not nearly as efficient as I would like them to be. Let's take a look at the air speeds, how they changed on here with a little porting action. Just moved a little bit side to side. Okay. Yeah, take a look at how offset the first air speeds were on the roof. Really far off, right? Little porting, even them up quite a bit. That's a huge improvement right there. Okay, take a look at your short side radius, right? Always going to be fast on the center of the cylinder where the air wants to turn. I'm not really thrilled about how the original porting was done because if you take a look in here, this was knocked way back. I like a big radius there that the air can actually get around. Now, I might be wrong with that. I don't know. But considering the size of the port and the flows, I think I'm right. Okay. We jiggled around the speeds a little bit. They're a little more even. They're a little bit happier, right? Which gives us a little bit better flows. Now take a look at your exhausts, right? As received versus first cut. Actually went down on the bottom. Not great, right? Look at these in the middle here. 45, practically dead, right in the center of the port, where you would expect you'd have real high airflow. Dead, 45. After a little work, picked up right in the middle. Didn't do anything at the bottom yet. And you have to remember it's a high port. I'm going to have to draw these out for you because the exhaust is raised quite a bit. It looks like it has a really nice short side radius, but still there's nothing really happening on the floor of that port. So we're going to have to look at that. Okay, and here we picked up a little bit on the bottom, a little bit less. All right, not fantastic so far with that, but it's also going to get some decent amount of chamber work here. I mean, I'm going to knock this all back after we find out what we're going to do with the guides and seats and stuff. The chamber will get reworked quite a bit. And this one I didn't take my tiny crack out by the plug balls here because I wanted to CC the stock chamber. Okay, I cleaned up the outside a little bit. I didn't go crazy because I don't have gaskets for them yet. But you can see where on the bottom there, or it's upside down, they've been welded because these actually have, not on this side, but on the other side, where are we? They actually have the EGR port going through these. Why would you do that on a racing head? Well, I guess somebody wanted to keep them emissions legal. Put some. Okay, now you can see a little bit. The port's been flattened out. Is it perfect in every way like my wife? No. But you know what it is? These castings are literally so thick that the Sonic has trouble reading them. But that doesn't mean I still don't have to be careful about blowing a hole in it, because as beautifully thick as these are, there is a thin spot on this wall. And one of these ports has had a repair here. It's been welded. I checked it. It doesn't leak. But it makes you wonder why that was repaired there at some point. Now, a welded iron head really doesn't bother me. As long as it doesn't leak, you're good to go. Okay, you can see the valve job doesn't look great, but it is nice the way they did a radius into it. And I rounded it a little bit, but I didn't go nuts on it. I wanted to keep it tight for my first cut. I can make that bigger as I go on. You can see it's really a big E7 port is really what it is. After I modify the David Vizard E7s, they look quite a bit like this. They're more, I mean, the E7s are square at the end. These are more of a point towards the bowl, which is better. But it really kind of reminds me of a big E7 port. The only thing different is it does have it's got a nice high short side radius because they're high ports. Only the exhaust ports are raised. The intake ports are not raised, as far as I can tell. I mean, they're huge, but they're not raised. Okay, a little bit different view of that exhaust. I took all the lumps and bumps and high spots and stuff out of it. Okay, I did a little bit of work on the short side radius, but not much. Okay. Overall, he had the short side radius pretty decent shape. He did keep it relatively high, but the apex is quite a ways back on it. So I'm going to see what I can do with that before I knock it down too much. Okay, did some work on the intake. This wall, you can still see the casting line, which is called a paste ooze line, where they glue the two pieces of mold together. You can still see that. So that wall has not been brought out much at all. I have a feeling that's probably going to have to come out some more. The guide looks like it still needs a little more work. It's still a little crooked. I may not worry about that until we get the real guides put into there. Fix the outside a little bit. I didn't go crazy, like I said. I don't have gaskets for it yet. And a view of the intake. You can see the short side hasn't been brought out much at all. I don't think it's much different than the casting was originally designed for. I brought it out a little bit because I saw where the speeds needed to be changed a little bit. It's not blended perfectly into the seat because I don't have guides in it yet, so well, that's going to be changing. But this gives you an idea of where we're going to go. What we got so far, and give me some input on these guys. I haven't completely decided what I'm doing with them yet, but I definitely put some hours into this one. This one's all cleaned up and ready to go to the machine shop. I got to take the other one and do the same thing to that. And I think we should even start working on combinations on this already. Let me know. I mean, as far as a power adder, as far as I'm concerned, that exhaust needs a ton of work before we can put a decent power adder on there. Give me your feedback. Thanks a lot, guys. Thanks for hanging out.